So, sitting here with TC Superstar for episode 11 of With Wes, talking about their new album coming out soon this month, September 17th, as seen on TV. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Connor.
I'm Emily.
I'm LB.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Autine.
I'm Francis.
And I'm Yuriko.
To get straight into the album, as seen on TV, would you guys consider it like a concept album?
The concept for the record changed at certain points, and it ultimately ended up being a reflection of like the pandemic and all the endless hours spent at home staring at screens, not interacting people with plenty of time to reflect on past and current realities. So it started as entirely like critique on American culture, and I was setting out to make an album that made people feel bad, but the music was fun to listen to. But then the band was like, "Hey, this just makes people feel bad," and we're like, "Okay, yeah, maybe that's just not the album we need to be doing right now."
Well, I know that that's sometimes there's like a disconnect with some of y'all's songs, like where there's like, the song's really fun and like happy sounding, but like the lyrics are sometimes a lot like kind of sad.
Yeah, I try and think through how the stuff is gonna feel later on live, but on stage, like I'm never able to. I'm just like in the moment performing it. There's not a lot of reflection going on at the same time. Outside of that, though, I do think I like you said, writing stuff that maybe the lyrics are more contemplative or deeper in some way, or they have a kind of darkness to them, and then giving people a music that they can dance to and kind of have a cathartic release on their Friday night.
Yeah, like sometimes for a song we will choose to lean into complementing that sort of upbeat poppy beat, and then sometimes we will lean into emphasizing what the lyrics are saying. From what we've come up with this new album so far, we are really playing with what the song is saying, and sometimes we'll make a very cheeky, almost comical sort of choreography out of it, because a lot of the songs are absurd, tongue-in-cheek sort of thing. So we've been having fun making choreography to that.
Something I thought was super cool about R&D was that you did interviews to help explore a new way of writing, I guess. And I also read an interview you said I don't think that we'll ever do write or choreograph or produce a TC Superstar album the same way. So I was wondering what makes As Seen on TV unique in the way that you approached the music and the choreography.
So this one I think was still our most collaborative album to date in terms of how many people in the band besides me were able to have some part in the lyrics writing, the beat making, the music, the song structure, playing parts, whatever it was, singing. So that was really excited, and I think we all enjoyed a taste of that and want to push that a lot further with some of our future stuff. So I see that continuing to change for us going forward as a group. The other thing, we didn't do any interviews or that kind of adjacent content for this one, but I did do a lot of voice recordings and found audio kind of stuff. And then because it was such a cheesy album, I guess, we wanted to kind of match that energy somehow with some extra audio. So Aaron works in video production, and his boss happened to have a hard drive lying around of soundboard sounds for TV. It was for TV, right? Sitcoms are
It was just a sound library that had a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and they were goofy.
I picked the TV related ones and then like gave Connor this drive that had all of those on them. And then from that, Connor took those and organized them into different songs and created different scenes and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to make it feel like a studio soundboard operator was just kind of like cueing a lot of the listener through the record.
In terms of like how the choreography is different, like I feel like we were so shaped by the pandemic, and this album was very shaped by the pandemic. Like early 2020, like this album was going to be completely different than it is right now, and we didn't really choreograph at all in 2020. And so we came back in like March, April, and started choreographing for TC basically for the first time since spring of 2019. And so like our perspectives, who we were was just completely different than like the people that we were choreographing R&D. So I just like naturally it is different because we are different and the world is different.
Yeah. That is a large gap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Been through things.
Yeah.
And that's part of the like even like the pivot in the concept of the album is
Yeah,
that, like,
for sure.
It just became apparent that like that album was the world just didn't line up with it didn't really make sense in the context of just how the world has evolved since like just that as the world situation has just evolved since like even a couple years ago. It's like, okay, that first iteration of it felt like it was pointing to a worldview that doesn't really exist in my mind anymore.
One of the songs that like really struck me was AFV because I grew up watching AFV, and I feel like I've definitely like had like adults talk to me like, or just hear them talk to other people about like, you should totally like start a YouTube channel, or like you should like, why aren't you doing this artistic thing, or like being on a part of media, because I think it maybe is like fascinating or something.
Yeah, I think it came from a place of just like observing a lot of societal pressure to do certain things or to make certain achievements in life, or like, oh, what do we with media and on TV, what do we say is a good thing or a good life or any kind of achievement. And I think for me in my life personally, that kind of feeling came from like being in the business school for a long time, because I grew up in a community where people were like, oh, you go to the college and then you do the business school and then you get the job and make money and then you come back to the community. Not necessarily with my parents directly so much, but with a lot of like adult figures in my life. And I was like, oh, maybe that was like not great advice or not the right things I should have been achieving with my time.
Also, like, Be Like You, I just want to talk about was like, it kind of feels like, like from the perspective of someone who's like enamored with like adult life and like suburban life or something, and like achieving like, what your parents have achieved or something. Yeah, exactly. Stability. That's the word I was looking for. And like, that's kind of like, something that's like in contrast with like a lot of like musicians' lives. So I was wondering, like, is that something you want, like a contrast you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, no, it's very much a contrast I wanted to highlight. A lot of the stuff in that song is like, oh yeah, these are things that, society and media kind of tell us are good achievements to have, or they make our life more comfortable. But also, singing the song as like a musician in this day and age at the level we're at, it's like, it's just a joke that we would have any of these things. And I think that's extended to like most people in our generation. I think it's like we grew up watching these TV shows of a reality that was not possible for so many people.
I wanna be like you, 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 be like you.
Like, who told me I wanted to be like that? Who were the the powers that be, the systems at play that are asking me to buy into this narrative and why. So that's where I come into that song as well.
There's something I love about TC Superstar is like there's so much effort that goes into each facet, like music videos, the music, the choreography, like the visuals. You know, there's like a zine for the last album. So like it comes into like a whole experience rather than like some bands might just like make the music, make an album cover, play some shows. But like it's like a very like unified thing. So I was like, can you speak to that and like where that comes from, and is it something that you insist on like keeping a part of TC Superstar as like y'all continue to like grow as a band?
Well, first of all, there's so many of us. We're not even
harder,
all here
right?
right now. There's 7 of us here right now. Julio's still like doing all this like design stuff, and he's at Yale. Like, so there's just like a lot of people and a lot of opinions, and very strong opinions. And we're like, we think critically about every single thing that we do. Like, I mean, not in a bad way, but like borderline neurotic, I would say. And ultimately, that is how we have become who we are, and I think why we are successful.
Yeah. I mean, the concept is like more than a band when you just bring the dancers into it. So, I mean, even still, we're like, well, this isn't like quite enough. Like, we're not doing as much as we could be. There's more here. And that's like, whoa, a little bit overwhelming, but hopefully over the next couple of years, like it's going to transform into something even bigger.
There's just a lot of creative energy between us too. It's like we all have creative skill sets, but they're different creative skill sets, and so everyone brings this different sphere of creativity to the band, and then it just combines into what it is. And it feels much more than just like than just like being a band. It feels like a big creative energy.
TC Superstar the movie up next. Is that the next step? I don't know. I just watched The Wall by Pink Floyd, so movies on my mind.
Hey, don't give us any ideas.
Yeah, dude.
We got enough to do.
We got a budget.
See what I can do.
We got ideas.
How do you think you guys will look back on this record? Like, how do you think it fits into the story of TC Superstar as a whole?
I think this album has pushed us in ways that we haven't been pushed before. And we are like growing through this album and discovering things about ourselves and how we work together. So, I mean, I think it's great for us.
This is also just a snapshot of just this weird transformative time in the world and in our lives, and trying to like jump back into it. And it's a little wobbly. It's a little like, it's a little wonky, you know? And it's like the feeling of getting into it, like not the album.
What are you excited about with tour coming up? You know, like the tour poster was sick, by the way. You know, and like how does it feel to like have played? You know, you played a couple shows. You know, recently. I mean, how were the Mohawk shows? It looked like it was pretty like emotional.
It has been so strange after a year and a half to be placed back on stage in the world, you know? Like, you had a year and a half of like not being this being in front of people. And then you're like, here I am again. And I feel like there were so many times during the pandemic where I was like driving, listening to our music and like crying, being like, when I get back on stage, I'm just gonna like have this insane euphoric experience. And then I got back on stage and was like, this is like really hard. This is tough. And so I am just like completely relearning and rediscovering and figuring out like who I am as this new being, this new body back on stage. And I'm grateful for tour because it will be 2 weeks of performing every night. And so I will be able to like figure out who I am in this world again through that. And I've like just been trying to take every show as it comes and be like grateful.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being on tour again and like practicing gratitude, because I think the last time we went on tour I came home and I was not happy. Like I was like tired and like, why am I doing this and what's the point? And then all this shit happened and now it's like, oh, this is kind of a gift. So